Welcome to Manila Updates TV. Please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon for more updates. The morning started with a headline screamed across screens in newsrooms worldwide. Tensions flare in the northern Arabian Sea. U.S. carrier confronted by Iranian fighter jets. On board, the U.S. Navy aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt, the air was thick with suspense. Every sailor and officer could feel the pressure. They knew the region was a powder keg, and today, something big was about to happen. Inside the Combat Information Center, blue and green screens glowed in the dim light. Operators sat hunched over their consoles. The ship's captain paced behind them, silent but alert. Out on the flight deck, fighter jets gleamed in the sun, ready to launch at a moment's notice. The carrier group's destroyers moved in tight formation, their weapons armed and crews standing by. For days, intelligence had warned of possible Iranian aggression. Now, all eyes were glued to the radar. The USS Roosevelt was the heart of a powerful strike group, but in these waters, even the strongest heart could be threatened. The sailors braced themselves for whatever might come next. As the sun climbed higher, a sudden beep cut through the CIC's tense silence. A new contact had appeared on radar, fast, low, and coming straight for them. The tension snapped taut as everyone realized this was not a drill. The radar operator's hands flew over their controls, zooming in on the approaching blips. 3 objects moving fast. The shapes were unmistakable. Jet aircraft, but whose? The identification friend or foe system showed nothing. The jets were flying dark, not broadcasting any codes. The operator called out the bearing and speed. 3 unknown aircraft, 60 miles out, low altitude, closing fast. The room erupted into motion. Senior officers leaned in closer. Someone brought up the tracking data on the big screen. The jets were splitting up, flying in a loose triangle. Each one was different in size and speed. Using intelligence data, the team quickly matched radar signatures and flight patterns. The first was a MiG-29, sleek, nimble, and dangerous. The second was an F-14 Tomcat, a rare but still deadly fighter. The third, trailing just behind, was a Su-24, a bomber built for low-level attacks. The CIC grew even more tense. These jets were Iran's best, and now they were coming straight for the U.S. carrier. The U.S. carrier's radio officer reached out on all emergency and military frequencies. Unidentified aircraft, you are entering restricted airspace. Identify yourself immediately. There was no answer, only static. The Iranian jets kept coming, even dropping lower, skimming just above the waves. The MiG-29 darted ahead, testing the carrier's outer defenses. The F-14 Tomcat stayed in the center, its wings swept back for speed. The Su-24 bomber lagged behind, but still kept pace. It was a bold move. The jets were flying too low for early missile locks, hoping to sneak past the carrier's radar. As the distance closed to 40 miles, the U.S. strike group's destroyers angled to present their best defenses. The CIC tracked every move the Iranians made, updating speed and heading. The tension was electric. One wrong move could mean disaster. The captain gave the order: continue warnings, prepare all defenses, launch ready alert fighters. This was no longer a routine encounter. It was a test, and it could become a fight at any second. The USS Roosevelt's alarm blared. General quarters, general quarters. Sailors rushed to their battle stations, doors sealed. Damage control teams stood ready. On the flight deck, deck crews raced to prepare 2 F-18 Super Hornet fighters for launch, fueling and arming them in record time. Inside the CIC, officers activated the ship's electronic warfare suite. Screens flickered as jammers and decoys powered up. The destroyers USS Preble and USS Halsey moved in closer, forming a protective shield. Their missile launchers rotated, tracking the incoming jets. The air defense officer coordinated with the Roosevelt's air wing. 2 Super Hornets taxied to the catapults, their engines roaring. Pilots ran through their checklists, hearts pounding. Over the radio, the carrier's air traffic controller gave the order: launch fighters. Amid the noise and urgency, the strike group braced itself. A battle was coming. No one knew what the next minute would bring. At just 25 miles out, the Iranian F-14 Tomcat suddenly powered up its targeting radar. The US CIC immediately picked up the spike, loud and clear. The Tomcat was locking onto the carrier, sending a clear signal of hostile intent. Within seconds, the MiG-29 and Su-24 shifted formation, creating confusion on US radars. The Su-24 dropped lower still, almost touching the waves. Then, without warning, a missile streaked away from under the F-14's wing, a deadly, bright flare against the blue sky. The missile was fast, built to target large ships and heading straight for the USS Roosevelt. Alarms screamed across the carrier. Missile inbound! Missile inbound! Sailors ducked and braced. The destroyers locked their Aegis defense systems onto the threat. In the CIC, the electronic warfare team sprang into action, jamming frequencies and preparing to deploy decoys. For a heartbeat, time seemed to stop. The missile closed the distance, coming faster than anyone could believe. The USS Roosevelt's electronic warfare officer triggered the ship's jammers. High-powered signals flooded the air, confusing the missile's radar and guidance systems. The destroyers launched chaff, clouds of tiny metal strips into the air, creating false targets and blocking the missile's path. On the radar screens, the missile's signal wobbled. It began to veer off course, chasing the electronic ghosts instead of the real carrier. The tension in the CIC never broke. Everyone watched, barely breathing as the missile disappeared from the main display. Outside, sailors on deck saw the missile's trail curve away, missing the carrier by hundreds of yards before splashing harmlessly into the sea. Cheers erupted on the lower decks, but the officers stayed focused. The threat was not over. The crew knew that quick thinking and technology had saved them. But the fight was far from finished. The Iranian jets were still in the air. With the missile defeated, the U.S. response came swift and hard. The two F-14 Super Hornets launched from the carrier's catapults, racing skyward in afterburner. The pilots leveled out and sped toward the incoming Iranian jets, weapons armed and radars searching. The Super Hornets locked onto their targets. They flashed warning lights and sent radio messages. "This is the United States Navy. You are in a restricted zone. Turn away, now." The MiG-29 and F-14 swerved, testing the Americans' resolve. The Su-24, still trailing, banked hard left, trying to slip away. From above, the Super Hornets flew tight, boxing in the Iranian jets and forcing them to break formation. The American pilots kept on their fingers poised over their triggers, but held fire. Their mission was clear: protect the carrier, but avoid starting a full-scale war. For a few long seconds, the sky crackled with tension. Both sides waited, each unsure if the other would blink first. The Iranian pilots looked around and realized the trap. The American Super Hornets were now on their flanks, their radars locked on. Below, the U.S. destroyers tracked every move, missiles ready. The carrier's electronic warfare systems were still jamming, making it hard for the Iranians to communicate with each other or home base. The MiG-29 pilot considered making another attack run, but knew it would be suicide. The F-14's pilot, shaken by the failed missile shot, watched as more U.S. fighters climbed from the carrier, filling the sky. Even the Su-24's powerful radar could not find a gap in the American defenses. Inside the Iranian cockpits, the pilots spoke briefly over their radios. They saw the U.S. fleet's tight formation, the destroyers' guns tracking their every move, and the swarming Super Hornets above. The message was clear: attack again, and none would escape alive. With no chance of breaking through, the Iranian pilots made their choice. Slowly, the three Iranian jets peeled away, turning back east toward their own airspace. The U.S. Super Hornets shadowed them for several miles, making sure the retreat was real. Down below, the destroyers stayed on high alert, tracking the jets until they were safely out of range. Inside the CIC, the tension finally broke. Officers let out deep breaths. The captain gave orders to stand down from general quarters, but everyone knew they had just survived a close call. The carrier group's defenses, radar, electronic warfare, and fighter pilots had worked together perfectly. Word quickly spread through the ship. Cheers and applause broke out in the mess hall and on the lower decks. The USS Roosevelt was safe, and the American flag still waved proudly over the Arabian Sea. For now, the storm had passed, but everyone knew that in these waters, danger was never far away. The sailors steeled themselves for whatever tomorrow might bring, ready to face the next challenge with courage and strength.